Robert has made some excellent progress in here. All the ceiling joists are in. So he finished this last bay here with 18 on center for the joists. And he's now moving to frame the attic hatch. So code in this building requires an attic access of 20 inches by 30 inches for the opening. We're framing it 3 foot on center, 2 foot on center, which gives us the opening we desire. A little wider than code. I'm hoping we don't have to access the attic area often. The only thing we're gonna have to do that's maybe problematic is we're gonna have to put a sewer vent pipe through the roof at some point, and that'll certainly require attic access and make a mess with cellulose, etc. But let's not think about that right now. We're all out of order on this build. You know, we're doing insulation before we have any wiring and plumbing. That is the joy of trying to live in a building that you're building. And it's just, yeah, not the typical way to build, but it's the way we chose. So Robert's gonna be doing that today. After that, we got a bunch of scrap OSB here. That was the crate for the commercial doors. And we cut it down to about 6-inch strips. And we're gonna be mounting those over all the joists, providing a little additional support for the weight of the insulation. So he'll do that after finishing the hatch. So we finally have an attic hatch. Robert's been working on this to frame it out. He basically used 2x9s on the north and south side and then built up the joist here with a 2x6 and the truss over there with a 2x4. It's only 9 inches above the ceiling, so not nearly enough for the insulation. We'll have to build up the sides there in order to make it tall enough to keep the cellulose from going back in. We'll also need to fashion a door for it, but for now, this is pretty good. Robert's been also working on the next thing, which is to add a little additional support for the insulation. He used some cast-offs there to create little shelves where necessary and has added this all around. Basically, he's gonna go all the way down and cover the entire barn with it. The way we're doing this is to have an additional 2x4 worth of space exposed below the insulation layer. That's because we're doing this all backwards and we're doing insulation before we do wiring and plumbing. By putting the insulation above the 2x4, we'll be able to drill holes, wire, and yada, yada, yada. As we started finishing the ceiling here, we began to understand that with 16 inches of cellulose blown in, we weren't going to be able to access the attic after the fact. We also know that come spring, we're going to have to install a sewer vent pipe above the loft area here. Just moving around in the attic on top of 16 inches of cellulose, drilling through the roof, it just sounded absolutely terrible. So we came up with an idea that would give us access after the insulation, and it's basically a gigantic catwalk. So this catwalk is 2x12s sitting on top of the truss with just scrap 2x6 and 2x4 for the rungs. We spaced the holes every 12 inches, so you could kind of crawl over the top of it. Once you get to this part where the cross bracing is, we switch over to the north side of that cross bracing. And as we go toward the west side of the barn, we're gonna have the same thing happen. So the catwalk's gonna go here, and then it'll go onto the north side of the cross bracing. We're actually going to make an extension over there where the vent pipe is going to go. That'll let me kind of lay down and work on it really easily at that time. It cost us a fair bit of money to do this. Basically, it cost 8 2x12s, about $200. When you look at the cost benefit, we only anticipate using this catwalk once or twice in our lives. But man, I feel better. I feel like it's insurance for the future. If we ever need to do a visual inspection of this roof, we can scurry across this catwalk, no problem, shine a light on all areas of the barn, and just be confident that everything is A-okay, or identify the specific spot for a problem. We're also finishing up the access hole here. Right now I'm standing on scaffolding, but eventually we're going to be coming up into the space through this access hole. We have it rough framed, but we're going to be extending that another 9 1/4 inches with a 2x10 all the way around, and that will bring it up above the level of the insulation. We extended a couple of the 2x6 rungs over where the bathroom wall is going to go and where I anticipate running the sewer waste vent. So that vent will come up around that area, and that should give us pretty good access to it without, overly disturbing the insulation.